crash, the blaring car horns, the screaming spectators. I barely missed the lineup of northbound traffic as I jetted off the roof. More horns blared. I was flying through the air with the greatest of ease. The sea wind both cooled and stung my face. It was going to be a crash landing. I flew into the smoky blue mist that was settling between the Pacific Ocean and the Pacific Coast Highway. I hit the thick branches of a fir tree. As I fell through scraping, scratching tree branches, I knew the gentleman caller was going to escape. Chapter 72. Skip forward, cut forward, spin, fall head over heels, forward. I was badly shaken and bruised from the car crash and fall, but apparently there were no broken bones. A crackerjack EMS team looked me over at the accident site on Highway 1. They wanted to check me into a nearby hospital for tests and observation, but I had other plans for the night. The gentleman was running loose. He had commandeered a car heading north. The car had already been found, but not Dr. Rudolph, at least not so far. When she arrived at the bad scene at the highway, Kate went ballistic. She wanted me to go to the local hospital, too. Agent Cosgrove of the FBI was already there as a patient. We had a heated discussion, but eventually Kate and I caught the last Air West shuttle out of Monterey. We were headed back to L.A. I had spoken to Kyle Craig twice already. FBI teams were camped out at Rudolph's apartment in Los Angeles, but nobody expected the gentleman to return there. They were searching the place now. I wanted to be there with them. I needed to see exactly how he lived. On the flight, Kate continued to show concern about my physical condition. She had already developed a top-notch bedside manner, warm and empathetic, but also surprisingly firm with a stubborn patient like myself. Kate talked to me with her hand cupped lightly under my chin. She was intense. "Alex, you have to go to a hospital as soon as we get to Los Angeles. I'm serious. As you might be able to tell, this isn't my usual humor-in-the-face-of-adversity approach. You're going to a hospital as soon as we land. Hey, are you even listening to me?" "I'm listening to you, Kate. I also happen to agree with what you're saying. Basically, that is." "Alex, that's no answer. That's crap." I knew Kate was right, but we didn't have time for a hospital check-in tonight. Dr. Will Rudolph's trail was still warm, and maybe we could pick up his scent and nab him in the next few hours. It was a slim chance, but by tomorrow the gentleman's trail could be stone cold. "You could be bleeding internally, and you wouldn't even know it," Kate continued to make her case. "You could die right here in this airplane seat." "I've got some nasty body bruises and contusions, and I ache all over. I've got the makings of some first-class scabs up and down my right side, where I made my first couple of bounces. I've got to see his apartment before they take it apart, Kate. I have to see how that bastard lives." $500,000 or more a year? Trust me, he lives very well. Kate came back at me. You, on the other hand, could be in bad shape. Human beings don't bounce. Ah, well, black human beings do. We've had to learn that special knack for survival. We hit the ground, we bounce right back. Kate didn't laugh at my joke. She folded her arms across her chest and peered out the tiny plane's window. She was angry with me for the second time in hours. That must mean she cared. She knew she was right, and she wasn't backing down. I liked the fact that she was concerned for me. We were actually friends. What a fantastic concept for men and women in the 90s. Kate McTiernan and I had become friends during both our times of need. We were in the process of compiling that all-important dossier of shared experiences now. It was some kind of dossier so far. "I like it that we're pals," I finally told Kate in a low, conspiratorial voice. I wasn't afraid to say cute, dumb things to her, almost the way I talk to my kids. She didn't turn away from the window as she spoke, still pissed off at me. Good for her. I probably deserved it. "If you were really my damn friend, you'd listen to me when I'm worried sick and frightened for you. You were in an automobile accident a few hours ago. You fell about 30 yards down a pretty steep ravine, pal." "I hit a tree first." She finally turned back to me and pointed a finger at my heart like a stake. "Big deal. Alex, I'm worried about your stubborn black ass. I'm worried so much my stomach hurts." "That's the nicest thing anybody said to me in months," I told her. "Once when I was shot, Sampson showed some genuine concern. It lasted about a minute and a half." Her brown eyes held onto mine and wouldn't let go, wouldn't lighten up. "I let you help me in North Carolina. I let you hypnotize me, for God's sake. Why won't you let me help you here? Let me help, Alex." "I'm working up to it," I told her. That was true enough. Macho policemen have a tough field to hoe. We abhor being helped. We're classic enablers. Most of the time, we like it like that, too. "Oh, cut the psychobabble, Doctor. It's self-serving and doesn't reflect you at your best." "I'm not at my best. I was just in a terrible accident." It went on like that between us for the remainder of the shuttle flight to Los Angeles. Toward the end of the ride, I catnapped peacefully on Kate's shoulder. No complications, no unnecessary baggage. Very, very nice. Chapter 73. Unfortunately, the California night was still young and probably extremely dangerous for everyone involved. When we arrived at Rudolph's penthouse apartment at the Beverly Comstock, the LAPD was everywhere. So was the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It was police bedlam. We could see the flashing crimson and blue emergency lights from several blocks away. The local police were justifiably angry for being kept out of the chase by the FBI. It was a very nasty, very political, very sensitive mess. This wasn't the first time the FBI had been high-handed with a local police agency. It had happened to me back in Washington. Plenty of times. The Los Angeles press posse was there too, and in full force. Newspaper, local TV, radio, even a few film producers were on the scene. I wasn't happy that many of the reporters knew Kate and me by sight. They called out to us as we hurried through police lines and barricades. "Kate, give us a few minutes. Give us a break. Dr. Cross, is Rudolph the gentleman caller? What went wrong up in Big Sur? Is this the killer's apartment?" "No comment right now," I said, trying to keep my head down, eyes down. "From either one of us," Kate added. The police and FBI let us inside the gentleman caller's apartment. Technical people were busy in every room of the expensive-looking penthouse. Somehow, the Los Angeles detectives seemed smarter, slicker, richer than cops in other cities. The rooms were sparsely decorated, almost as if no one lived there. The furniture was mostly leather, but with lots of chrome and marble touches. All angles, no curves. The art on the wall was modern and vaguely depressing. Jackson Pollock and Mark Rothko look-alikes, that sort of thing. It looked like a museum, but one with a lot of mirrors and shiny surfaces. There were several interesting touches, possibly clues about the gentleman caller. I noted everything, recording, remembering. His dining room hutch held sterling silver, bone china, real stoneware, expensive linen napkins. The gentleman knew how to set his table. On top of his desk were formal writing paper and envelopes with elegant silver trim. Always the gentleman. A copy of Hugh Johnson's Pocket Encyclopedia of Wine was sitting out on the kitchen table. Among his dozen expensive suits were 2 tuxedos. The suit closet was small, narrow, and oh, so neat. It was less a closet than a shrine for his clothes. Our strange, strange gentleman. I came over to Kate after an hour or so of touring the gentleman's place. I had read the local detectives' reports. I'd talked to most of the techs, but so far they had nothing. That didn't seem possible to any of us. The newest laser equipment was being brought from downtown Los Angeles. Rudolph had to have left clues somewhere, but he hadn't. So far, that was his closest parallel to Casanova. "How are you doing?" I asked Kate. "I'm afraid I've been lost in my own world for the last hour." We were at a window overlooking Wilshire Boulevard and also the Los Angeles Country Club, lots of shimmering car and building lights surrounding an 18-hole expanse of darkness. A disturbing Calvin Klein billboard was brightly lit up down on the street. It showed a naked model on a couch. She looked to be about 14. Obsession, the ad proclaimed. For men. "I've got my second or third wind," Kate said. "Oh, the world's a hideous nightmare suddenly, Alex. Have they found anything at all?" I shook my head as I looked at the two of us in the dark, reflective window. It's maddening. Rudolph commits perfect crimes, too. The techies might eventually match fiber from his clothes to one or more of the crime scenes, but Rudolph is unbelievably careful. I think he has a knowledge of forensic evidence. There's enough written about it these days, isn't there? Most doctors are pretty good at absorbing technical information, Alex. I nodded at the truth of her statement. I thought the same thing. Kate had the makings of a detective. She looked tired. I wondered if I looked as exhausted as I felt. Don't even say it. I dialed up a smile. I'm not going to a hospital now. I think we're done here for the night, though. We lost him, God damn it. We lost them both. Chapter 74. We left Will Rudolph's penthouse apartment at just past 2 in the morning. That made it 5 a.m. our time. I was reeling, so was Kate. We called ourselves the Bruise Brothers. We were both out of it. Grogginess, exhaustion, possible internal injuries, they were one and the same. If I had ever felt this badly before, I couldn't remember the time and didn't want to. We collapsed into the first of our rooms when we reached the Holiday Inn on Sunset. Are you all right? You don't look so good to me. Not unexpectedly, Kate resumed her advertisement for the McTiernan Medical Group. She was a compelling spokeswoman, actually. She had a way of crinkling her forehead that made her look thoughtful and wise and highly professional. I'm not dying, I'm just dead tired. I groaned and slowly lowered myself onto the edge of the comfy bed. Just another tough day at the office. You're so damn stubborn, Alex. Always the macho big city detective. All right, I'm going to examine you myself. Don't try to stop me or I'll break your arm, which I'm entirely capable of doing. Kate pulled a stethoscope and a sphygmomanometer out of one of her travel bags. She wasn't taking no, absolutely not, or no way as an answer. I sighed. I'm not having a physical exam now, and especially here, I told her with as much resolve as I could muster under the circumstances. I've seen it all before. Kate rolled her eyes and frowned. Then she smiled. No, actually, she laughed. A doctor with a smile and a nice sense of humor. Imagine that. Take your shirt off, Detective Cross, Kate said to me. Make my day. Make my night, anyway. I started to pull my shirt over my head. I half moaned, half yelled. Just taking the shirt off hurt like hell. Maybe I was seriously hurt. Oh, you're just fine and dandy, Dr. McTiernan pronounced with a wicked chuckle. Can't even get your shirt off. She bent in close, extremely close, and listened to my breathing with the stethoscope. I could hear her breathing without the help of any machine. I liked the sound of her heartbeat up close like this. Kate probed my shoulder blade. Then she moved my arm back and forth, and it hurt. Maybe I was banged up a lot worse than I thought. More likely, she wasn't using her gentlest touch while she examined me. She poked my abdomen and ribs next. I saw stars, but not a peep came from me in protest. That hurt at all? She asked. Doctor-to-patient talk, detached, professional. No, maybe, yes, a little. Okay, quite a lot. Ow! That wasn't so bad. Ow! Getting hit by a train isn't the way to keep the average human body in excellent running shape, she said. She touched my ribs again, gentler this time. That wasn't my plan, I said, offering the only defense I had. What was your plan? My fleeting thought up at Big Sur was that maybe he knew where Naomi was, and I couldn't let him get away. My ultimate plan was to find Naomi. It still is. Kate used both her hands to feel my rib cage. She applied pressure, but nothing too extreme. She asked me if it hurt to take a breath. To tell the truth, I kind of like this part, I told her. You have a nice touch. Uh-huh. Now the trousers, Alex. You can keep your drawers on if it makes you feel better. A little of her drawl was creeping into her speech. My drawers, I grinned. Your bikini underwear from Gentleman's Quarterly. Whatever you're wearing today, let's see the goodies, Alex. I'd like to see a little skin. You don't have to show such obvious damn glee about this. I was very much awake all of a sudden. I did like the way Kate touched me, though.